Hello there, welcome to this episode of Rugby Nats. Not a great deal going on at the weekend apart from a few minor internationals and a little bit of league rugby. I'm trying to play it down because it's actually 4-2 to you.
Yeah, and well deserved, if I may say so. I thought England good performance against Wales, but their discipline lets them down big time. I just don't know why they panic when there's no need. They're in control and they allow the opposition back into it. Ireland pretty convincing against Italy. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, very convincing. Yeah.
And then I just fancied the Scots at home against the French. I think the French are trying to bed in a new coaching regime, etc. And I think probably they'll have to start winning at home first before they start winning away. But
Quite interesting. Have you heard the news later on this afternoon about what France have done and what the IRB have announced about the try? So
no, I haven't.
The French players got themselves into a bit of an altercation on a night out. The police investigated and said that there was actually no offences committed, but the French RFU have decided that they obviously didn't recognise the gravity of representing the blue shirt, and it was behaviour unbecoming of somebody at that level. And there's, I think there's 6 or 7 of them that aren't going to be selected this week. Even the likes of Pickerwell
Really?
are not going to be selected. They're just disciplined out.
So they're out for it's not this.
Next weekend, the weekend after, yeah.
Yeah, the 24th.
Yeah, they're not going to be eligible for selection.
Really?
And then, of course, the Welsh try, not a try, not a try. The IRB have just said that the TMO has made a mistake.
That's helpful now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we all make mistakes, don't we? And you just get on with it.
Rob Howley's been very magnanimous about it. He says it's just rugby. I should imagine he was biting his hand as he said that.
Yeah, he probably wasn't saying it at the time, but there we are.
Are we going to make any predictions, or should we do that next week?
We'll do that next week then. Yeah. I'll just
Especially when we see
review the stats again.
Especially when we see which school kids have been promoted into the French team.
Absolutely, and who's injured. But yeah.
The main topic this week is something that I've sort of drawn away from over the last couple of years because of my own personal lack of interest in it. But I think that's probably the nub of the issue: is county rugby. You've packed in coaching full time, but you're still doing county this year. You've been doing it for donkey's years, haven't you?
On some occasions it's been trying to push water uphill, I must say. But it's a difficult one because I think you can divide it really into 3 sections. You've got sort of under 18 county rugby, which all the counties participate in. I think really the under 20 competition is something that the RFU have done particularly well in organising. I mean, it follows on from the old under 19 competition. I think then it went under 21 and then
Back down to
down to 20s. And I think that's a valuable competition. And I think it's aimed at guys who still have ambition left, who would like to progress in the game. Some of them do, some of them don't. But it takes them out of their comfort zones, I think. It puts them into a highly competitive environment. It's a competition. They're playing with guys from different clubs who have different styles of play. You have, as a coaches, you have very limited time with them. So it's not basic coaching, it's really organisation and selection with the implementation of quite a small game plan, an elementary game plan. And it's really about enjoyment for the players, but also testing them. And I think it does benefit players. We've had players come through who've perhaps had their aspirations of professional rugby knocked on the head when they were 18, but have come back through this competition. It keeps a large number of players in the game, which we're often talking about. This 18 to 24, they go off. A lot of them play National League rugby going forward. High proportion of them play. So I think it is a beneficial tournament. But I'm not that happy with the RFU's attitude towards it. They have cut down funding, which is not easy for the counties to deal with, and it's a pity. I think that it should be put up there as a pedestal for the amateur rugby player or the non-professional player who hasn't played or does not have a contract with a premiership or a championship club. So I think it is a worthwhile competition. I think it's played just around about right in terms of the sort of February window through to the end of the season on international weekends or identified weekends when there isn't league rugby. I think really they have promotion and relegation. I'm not sure I buy into that because under 20 is cyclical. One year you can have a particularly good team.
Yeah, depending on what cohort you've got coming through.
You know, so if you're in the second division, get promoted to the top, and then that year's not particularly good, you're yo-yoing backwards, back and forth. But that, you know, that's something that they might wish to address. But I think the funding is pretty important. But as I said, I do believe it is a worthwhile competition.
What about the seniors?
The seniors, I think, has, you know, it's in a difficult position because at one time it was the major competition within English rugby. If you wanted to play,
I always remembered it.
International rugby, you had to play in the county championship. Now it's been latched onto the end of the season, so I think it does put demands on players and also perhaps colours the attitude of the clubs because, especially in National League rugby, you know, you're playing 30 odd games. Even the levels lower, you're playing 26, and players do pick up injuries, and it can be quite a hard.
Well, that's my problem with it. That's my problem with it because it's at that critical part of the season where you're sort of potentially limping towards the end of the season with a very high butcher's bill, and you get this very enthusiastic email coming out saying put people forward for county and all the rest of it. And on a couple of occasions, I've even had sort of phone calls being made in the background to key positions, like phoning my club's prop or a couple of props because county are weak or whatever. And I just disagree with it. It's the wrong timing. If you're going to have it at some other point. And I'm not going to suggest when, but have it at some other point, not at the end of the season.
I think really that can't be blamed on the counties. I mean, it's the RFU sent out I remember about 6 years ago, basically a survey on what they were going to do with the championship. Now, I remember I was asked to fill it in certainly for the the 20s. I think they should, prioritise that as one of the important competitions within the game. With the actual full county championship, that point was made, as I understand. Can they move it from the end of the season? They haven't done, but I think what we need to take into account also is player enjoyment, and a lot of players do like playing in it. Now, I'm involved with Berkshire, and we have endeavoured to adopt various ways of recruiting for the county. The best way, actually, the way that's been most successful, and it has sort of seen a gradual improvement on our performances, is involve the players themselves in that process. So, okay, tell the clubs we're going to approach players, etc., we're going to speak to players, but a lot of the players come forward themselves and would like to play themselves. And last year, for example, in the early training sessions, we had in excess of 40 plus
I remember,
players there.
And my lad was playing.
Yeah, and it makes selection actually quite hard. I mean, we'd never really had that before, and gradually that's improved. And I think for those players who do want to be, it is taking guys out of their comfort zone. It is fun, it is enjoyable, and if they want to, participate in it, to me, it's no different from playing sevens. I mean, how many players leave their clubs at the end of the season and go off and do another mini-season playing sevens, where this is quite a condensed competition of, say, 4 weekends. I think also, you have to accept it's very, very popular, certainly in Cornwall.
West Country,
and Lancashire, Yorkshire. I mean, it has tremendous interest there. So, it is something the RFU can look at. But I think I personally wouldn't, do away with it. I would just perhaps, like you, perhaps look at where it fits in the calendar. But really go for the enjoyment side of it. And there's no doubt about it, players do like, I think, playing in it, and do like the occasion, really.
I'm a bit like you said at the beginning, I can remember it being sort of like the pinnacle, not the pinnacle of your career, I mean, that's probably professionalism or higher, but, as an amateur player, it was something that was really on your calendar, on your radar. And that was in my mind. My son has played, and some of the players from the club have played, so I've sort of kept a minor interest in it, and I'll be honest, it is only a minor interest. But I last season I was at Twickenham for a game. I can't remember what it was, but the finals of the various different county cups were on after the international.
That's right. Yeah.
And I fancied a few more pints, so me and the guys that we were with, we stayed on to watch a couple of games, which were good fun. But it was like us and about 10 other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get Cornwall there, you get a massive crowd. There's no doubt about it. I think they were on prior to the start of the international.
Yeah, the big ones, showcase ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's. I mean, some counties were in a position, I know a couple of years ago, Surrey couldn't get a team, they withdrew from it. And Middlesex at the moment are in a similar position. I think they've been out of it now, I think, for 2 years and are looking to come back into it next year. It is hard work getting sides out, there's no doubt about it. But you're reliant on guys who want to play, and if somebody wants to play, then it makes certainly a coach's job a lot easier.
Of course it is.
And I think one has to respect their wishes on it.
If you've got any views on county rugby, its worth, its value, its position in the season, it'd be really nice to hear about it and see if we can get your views and opinions. Mike, the roundup.
Yeah, there was just National League rugby this weekend, with a couple of games that had been rearranged because of earlier postponements prior to the weather. I won't dwell on Coventry too much again, but they won.
But they won.
But they won again, 31-24. I think that's nailed down now. But there's an interesting fight happening at the bottom of the National 1. Now, Loughborough lost to Coventry 31-24, but they got a bonus point. Now, Hull Ionians, who've been struggling, they've started to put a couple of wins together. They beat bottom of the table Fyle 14-12 on Saturday. So now, at the bottom of the league, you have Fyle at the bottom, and I think they've gone, to be fair, with 8 games left. I think it's going to be a pretty tall order. If they do it well, fair play to them. You've then got Old Albanians, and I think they're in a similar position. They were beaten again at the weekend, and I think it's going to be very hard for them to emerge from the bottom two. Yeah. But who comes the third one that goes down? Well, you've got Hull Ionians on 38 points and Loughborough on 39. Ooh, so we've got 8 games to go, and I think it's going to be quite difficult. Loughborough haven't been out of that level, and that will come as a major shock. So we'll see how it goes. But I think that makes it particularly interesting. In National 2 North, Sale didn't play. They were due to play Macclesfield. That game was off. That enabled some of the lower sides to catch up. Stourbridge move into second place, having beaten Leicester Lions 23-12, and they go into second place because also Hinckley went down to lowly Sheffield. Sheffield a third from the bottom, and they beat Hinckley 14-8 on Saturday. So Hinckley now move into third place, and then you got Sedgley Park. They were had a close win over Luctonians, again are at the bottom, and then you've got Tyndale who are in fourth. Sorry, they're in fifth place. Sale again, my money's, they're still in the lead, they've got games in hand now, my money would still be on them. But I think that you have this time of the season where obviously sides don't want to be relegated, and they're putting in performances which they hadn't previously done earlier on in the season, and they are causing problems amongst the top sides, as we see from that Hinckley result. So things could change at the bottom there, although again I think Sheffield, Luctonians and Bladen are at the bottom. I think they to me would look to go down. A similar story where I suppose the focus would be on the bottom sides is on National 2 South. Cinderford won again, so they retain top place. Chinner managed also a win against Broad Street, who are bottom. But then you've got Wimbledon and Old Redcliffians, who are picking up points and winning games. Now, Redcliffians lost to Reading Rams on Saturday, 14-21, but they got a bonus point. And conversely, Wimbledon went to Henley Hawks and won there 19-0. So a good win for them. And then you've got Wimbledon are on 29 points, Redcliffians are on 34. So that's second and third from bottom. But then you've got Clifton fourth from bottom, and they're on 38 points. And my informants from Bristol tell me it's making life particularly interesting down there if the Clifton Rugby Club, a club of great and good, were in fact put into that relegation zone. And certainly Redcliffians are snapping on their heels. Whether they achieved or not, who knows? I mean, 8 games to go. But there could even be a chance that London Irish Wild Geese are dragged into that, or even Barnstable. But I'd say, Broad Street definitely. But Wimbledon and Redcliffians, they could make progress and stay in there. Absolutely. And then in a couple of the regional leagues, there was one unbeaten club, Birmingham Solihull, but no longer. They lost to Sandbach on Saturday, and so out of the top 6 levels of the game, there's nobody with an unbeaten record. Games for this weekend, the ones that I've marked off here, the ones I've identified, is Hull Ionians against Loughborough. Big decider that as who can stay up. I think another interesting one would be Sedgley Park against Stourbridge, second against fourth, and Hinckley against Tyndale, third against fifth. So that's going to be an important week in National 2 North. And then a local derby in the southwest, Maidenhead against Newbury. Maidenhead will be out to get revenge on Newbury winning earlier on in the season.
That's one of the, with this weather that we're having, especially locally to us.
Yeah.
That's one of the fixtures that's definitely going to go ahead, obviously, because of Maidenhead's pitch.
It is indeed. It is.
So that could be, makes me feel slightly nauseous if I've got to go and pay to watch there. But if our game's off, that's where I'll be going.
Yeah. Also this weekend, which I haven't mentioned, there were a number of RFU Cup competitions, so perhaps you'd like to talk us through those.
Yeah,
having a vested interest.
Having a vested interest, yeah. I just, I don't want to be one-eyed about it all, but my lads played against probably the toughest opposition of the weekend, which was Sherborne, not of the weekend, of the season. Sherborne, great game, awful conditions, only 12-3. But they've gone to the next round. But how cruel is that? It's becomes effectively an extra league fixture because we'll be playing top of the league Beaconsfield weekend after next and away as well, where we narrowly lost last time we played there. So yeah, interesting. And all of a sudden, back to county rugby again. All of a sudden, I'm interested.
Yeah. It's in the cup competitions. Well, look, everybody keep their fingers crossed this weekend that the leagues do go ahead, that the weather actually calms down a little, and we get a full programme in on this coming Saturday. But thank you very for watching, and get out and support your local club this weekend.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Bye.